How much bad luck can one Canadian band have? Well, enough to derail them. Almost. I'm John Beaudin from rockhistorymusic.com. When I was 18 in 1978, my friend Tommy Morrison introduced me to this album. You can't look at this album cover and not, well, it begs discussion at the very least. Astral Projector, the debut album from Zon. It really caught the attention of a lot of people in Canada. To many, they were the up-and-coming band. They mixed progressive rock, a little glam, just good old-fashioned pop, and rock music in general, all together with an amazing stage show, which became, in Toronto, legendary. Everyone thought these guys were going to make it. But then, one thing happened after another. And we're talking bad luck that Job would walk away from. And you'll hear that from their keyboardist, Howard Helm. He was a big part of the sound of Zon. They released 3 albums, Astral Projector, Back Down to Earth, and I'm Worried About the Boys. And then after all that crap went down, they disbanded, went their separate ways, but there was always a bond between all of them, which helped make this possible. Their 4th album, a live album, recorded in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. For anyone who's curious about the band Zon, this might be the CD to start with. It showcases all that energy that this band truly had, and they were personally one of my favorite bands when I was growing up and still in high school. We talked to keyboardist Howard Helm about the good times and the many not so good times of the band Zon. Getting great advice from Fee Waybill of the Tubes and opening up for them, but also opening up for Alice Cooper, where Alice didn't show up. But first, the Tubes.
You know, the Zon thing was really cooking at the time. We were really on fire. The first album was out. And the chance to play with the Tubes, we had we yacked for probably, Denton and I must have talked to Fee Waybill for 2.5 hours the afternoon of the show.
He's toned down a lot since those days. What was he like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Quaalude and all that stuff. I mean, that was great. Oh, that was so much fun. I thought their show was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just so good. But that was one of the things that he was, he talked to us about. He says, I don't really know much about you guys. And he said, well, and we explained to him what we're doing. And he said, let me tell you, that's a little bit of a tough road to go down. Because he said, you're going to get caught up in the whole theater live show thing having to be bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And he said, that kind of doesn't have anything to do with your music. It's just you're setting yourselves up for that kind of thing. So he said, and his 2 cents was, hey, you guys may be great at it. I don't know. I haven't seen your show. And obviously we didn't try to do what would have been a small theater or a club show type thing in Maple Gardens. I mean, we didn't do that. So he said, you guys might want to think about direction-wise trying to pull yourselves out of that a bit. He said, I'm not telling you what to do, but he said, it's been torture for us. And of course, ultimately, the Tubes, they ended up changing.
Tell me what is on your mind. Tell me the time to follow you now. For your thoughts, I can't bear anymore. I barely enough is what I love. I'm just trying to keep a little change in my heart.
My friend Tommy Morrison, who I lost a while ago, first showed me this when I was, I think, 18 years old. And he first of all, no one could see this album cover and not be curious.
Yes.
So that's a nice thing to have that, because you can't not stare at this.
Right.
But then he played it for me every time I'd play your music for someone. And I did it a lot in Little Miramichi, Northeast New Brunswick, in Newcastle it was called back then. Everyone loved you guys. Paul McCartney's the guy who said in the 70s, he says, the greatest bands, the Beatles were great. He says, listen, I'm proud of that. But he said the greatest bands in the world probably just never got a chance. The guy, his wife got pregnant, his father died, he had to go back to the warehouse, it didn't pay the bills soon enough. I mean, that's life in every job, but but every time I played your music for someone, there was never once in my life that I played your music for anyone who didn't like it. They went, wow, this is innovative, this is energy, the keyboard player is great, fantastic vocalist, whatever. They mentioned one member at a time.
I tell you, that is very, very kind of you to say, and it's one of those things where, unfortunately, over the years, whenever I've talked about Zon, it always seems to be this endless litany of, you might not believe this, and you might not believe this, and you might not believe this. It's almost inconceivable the amount of, if you want to call it, bad luck that Zon had. It seemed like when you really started to add one thing after another and another, and the reason I bring up Morrisound is because one of the last experiences I had there that had something to do with Zon was, I'm trying to remember what their real names were, the two brothers from Toronto. They had a jingle company called Einstein Brothers. Anyways, they used to play with Lisa Del Bello back in the day. So it was so funny. So, I mean, of course, again, 20 years had passed, 25 years had passed, whatever, and these two guys were there, and I kind of recognized them. And somebody told me, oh, they're from Toronto. I said, well, chances are I probably know who they are. So I went and I was talking to them, and they go, oh, my God, you're the keyboard player from Zon. Oh, it's just unbelievable what happened to you guys. That was the second thing out of his mouth. He goes, you guys got ripped off for all your royalties. The guy ended up in jail that was bootlegging your stuff in Europe from CBS and all the rest of it. And I'm like, thanks, man. I really needed to hear that all over again.
Oh my God, eh?
It's like, why couldn't you just say, hey, it's nice to see it. But no, every story with Zon is some catastrophe. I want to look back at everything to do with Zon with love and kindness, and not how could you possibly have screwed us this bad? But it happened,
But it's part of the history too. The other side of that, I may say, I mean, the fans want, I hate to be cliche, but the fans they do want to hear this stuff,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's a crying shame, no one's to blame but me. Where do I go to be happy?
One of the shows we were most excited about was when we got the opportunity to headline at Ontario Place before they changed it into the Molson Amphitheatre in Toronto. And this was a big deal. It was a good time when there were a lot of good acts, early 80s, that were headlining there. It was really good. But they had kind of a policy of, okay, no opening acts, all this sort of stuff, and the shows, they had a certain time thing and the rest of it. Well, we really pushed it. We told our manager, we said, look, we want to do our show. We want our lights. We want our flash pots. We want our show to be the way it is. It's got to at least be twilight. It can't be sunny. Otherwise, half our show is not going to make a shred of sense, or we'll just look stupid. Somehow, he got Ontario Place to agree to it. But the reason they agreed is they said, okay, this goes against our policy, but we're going to have to insist on an opening act because the show starts when the show starts. If you guys want to delay it 40 minutes and then start, that's okay. So we did. So the reporter from the Globe and Mail, who's about to write his article on Zon, he knows nothing about us, goes down, watches the opening act, thinks he's seen Zon, goes home. I'm thinking to myself, how does a reporter, any music reporter, look at a stage with a pile of gear behind the band that's playing and think that the band that he is seeing is the headliner? All our stuff was on the stage. Everything, two risers, all this junk, you know what I mean, was everywhere. And he writes the most scathing review, and boom, across the whole country it goes, about how we are just about the worst band he has ever seen in his life. And if you want to do yourselves a favor, don't waste your money with a ticket, an album, or anything. And we played one of our greatest shows. We drew 21,000 people to our own show. That, for a band from Toronto,
oh yeah,
for a bunch of guys that just,
it's huge.
It was huge. For us, it was like we were on top of the world. And the next morning, when whoever called first to say, "Oh my God, have you seen the paper?" And I thought, well, what could be in the paper? And then we saw it, and it was like, what's going on? Even if the guy really does hate us, why would he write just a scathing, horrible review? Well, it turned out he wrote it about the wrong band. And so now the record company is phoning the Globe and Mail, and now there's this, we want a retraction, we want this, we want that, and all this other. But the damage is done.
The damage is done.
The damage is done, it's like, but whether people believe it or not, because there's some stuff has resurfaced again, some pictures and that on Facebook from the Alice Cooper riot in 1980. We were backstage, and Alice's band was backstage. Everybody was waiting for Alice, including his band. Everybody thought Alice was going to get there. And it was one of those things where he was coming from New York, and there was a whole bunch of, just for lack of a better word, BS that happened in airspace and delays and problems, I think, with a plane and whatever. He just plain didn't make it in time. And how that whole thing was handled was, again, another disaster. Mm-hmm. Denton, I even forgot until somebody told me that Denton went back out to actually, why would Denton have to tell the audience that Alice wasn't coming?
Oh my God.
We're the opening act. You know what I mean? We're not the promoter. We're not, but somehow Denton got the job of going out and saying something to people, and and that was one of those times where when I got my brother some nice fifth row down close tickets, he called me later. He goes, "Man, dodging chairs and horses and cops," and it's like, I'll tell you, John, it actually sometimes it defies belief to think that 5 guys that just loved playing together, wanted to just make some great music, and it just seemed like the business had it out for us at every turn of the way.
One of the most interesting chaps I've ever talked to in rock and roll, Howard Helm, the keyboardist of the band Zon. They released 3 studio albums and a brand new live album, simply titled Zon Live. We'll have links below where you can purchase the CD and merchandise and anything in the world of Zon. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our video. And we'll have more chats with Howard Helm in the next couple of weeks. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Take good care of yourself.